This show is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find the other great shows on the network, head over to the deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Want the truth? You can't handle the truth.
What is going on? And welcome to Take on the World with
Johnny
and Mike D. This is another episode of Military Justice
or Injustice. You decide.
Well, you add more words to it, bro.
I did.
There you go. All right. Today we're going to cover a Civil War military trial, court-martial.
No, Civil War.
Civil War. But first,
Tumultuous times.
Yes, tumultuous. I mean, it really was. We want to talk about the Deluxe Edition Network. Check out all the great podcasts in the Deluxe Edition Network. We are a proud part. They have something for everybody: movies, music, history,
Interviews,
pop culture, horror, anything you think of, it's on there. Check it out. While you're there, check out the podcast of the month. Friends Talking Nerdy dives deep into all things geeky and nerdy. With their passion for pop culture, science, mental health, and technology, the hosts offer insightful commentary on the latest trends and happenings in the world of geekdom. This is a podcast I can get behind because me and my son are both nerds. The Films and Fermentation podcast follows three friends while they talk smack on movies while they're getting verschnickered. Various other topics pop up during the podcast while they're enjoying their favorite libations. It's a podcast about alcohol and cinema. Make sure you check it out. Check out the podcast of the month. Click it at the top. And that is that. So we're going to jump right into this because we want to keep these short and sweet.
short to the sweet. Just scratching minutia. Let you decide whether or not you like it and you want to proceed.
Speaking of Civil War, we watched. Nathan wanted to watch Django Unchained the other day.
Love that movie.
And it was on TV. And I'm like, dude, you're not getting
they're going to cut a lot of stuff.
You're not getting the full effect. So we looked for it on direct on demand. And we watched it on demand. I paid like $3 to watch the movie.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh my God.
It's an awesome movie.
So, and then right after it was The Patriot.
Okay.
Which is Revolutionary War, but still.
Right. Two good movies in their respect.
So, the Civil War is 1861 to 1865. 5.
Is that all it was? For real?
It seems like it was longer.
Yeah. Oh, it was still, is that, to my knowledge, still the most bloody American conflict?
Okay.
I think so.
I don't know. I know it was very bloody.
I don't know how they measure the blood. I'm sure it's got to be kind of hard.
In gallons.
Yeah.
There was numerous battles, military engagements during the war, but there were not many famous court-martial cases during the war. Was that you or me?
Yeah, it's me. Sorry. I thought I put that in my pocket.
I was just wondering if it was work.
No.
Okay. So there was not many military court cases. However, there were instances of military trials and legal proceedings related to the various issues during the Civil War. One example of a trial is Major General Fitz John Porter. So, Major General Fitz John Porter's court-martial was in 1862. So, the year after the Civil War started. He was a Union Army officer, faced a court-martial in 1862 following the Second Battle of Bull Run, Second Manassas. I don't know what that means.
There was obviously a Battle of Bull Run.
Yes. And this was obviously the second one.
And
I'm sorry.
I wanted to say I'm probably gonna mess this up, but I thought Manassas was either a town
It is.
or the what would you call like the a battalion or some kind of group in the military.
No, Manassas is the town. We pass it when we go down to Bethesda.
Okay.
So it must be in Maryland, or at least the exit for it's in Maryland. So Porter served under Major General John Pope during that battle. Porter was charged with disobedience of orders and misconduct for his actions during the battle. It was alleged that he failed to comply to orders promptly and did not properly execute maneuvers contributing to the Union defeat. So when I read this one, I looked at it as the Union Army lost this battle, and they were looking for someone to blame.
I think,
and that general was not Major General John Pope wasn't going to take it on his shoulders.
I want to say that I watched a History Channel episode, and I think this was on there, and it was something like he basically disobeyed orders. Was like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. We're gonna go down here because that makes more sense. And like his whole team got slaughtered. Not team, but he let a lot of guys to death unnecessarily. If he would have just listened and
I don't know.
If we search,
the allegation is that he didn't obey the orders promptly.
There was like a battle in a cornfield. That's what I remember.
I'm sure there was more than one.
I think this was the one. So like his guys just blindly walked through a big cornfield maze and were just annihilated from a higher elevation. And then they're like, run away. It's over. Run away. But it was kind of like, from what I believe, I think it was because you didn't have ultimate messaging back then. You had to send a fucking raven, or a runner. Or a runner. Yep. And so he was kind of like, well, I got to make this. So if this is the same one that I'm thinking it is, it's kind of, you can see both sides of it. You decide.
Was it justice or was it?
But anyways,
injustice. I feel like thanks for throwing that in there, John.
I think I'm gonna overjump this one, so I'll just shut up because you're probably gonna touch on this in a second.
I don't know. I don't have much information on this. It said notably the trial was controversial at the time, with some arguing Porter was being used as a scapegoat for the Union defeat. The verdict in 1863, Fitz John Porter was found guilty on several charges. He was dismissed from the Army and held responsible for the Union loss at the Second Battle of Bull Run, which is, I think that's all they were looking for. Someone to blame. Yeah. There was later reconsideration. Porter's conviction and dismissal sparked controversy and debates over the years. In 1879, following the advocacy by Porter and his supporters, a board of review reconsidered the case. The board concluded that he had been wrongly convicted, and President Chester A. Arthur subsequently reinstated Porter's military rank in 1886.
I wonder if this is the same guy I watched that documentary on.
While this is one notable example, the American Civil War did not generate as many famous court cases as some later conflicts. The focus during the Civil War was largely on the battlefield, and legal proceedings were often overshadowed by larger military and political events at the time. So I really do look at this one as, look, they needed someone to blame this defeat on. And things back then, like people think things are political now, and the politics is nasty now. Politics was nastier back then. Like, it was absolutely cutthroat. And this Major General John Pope, I think, was just, he didn't want the stink to stick to him, so he stuck the stink to somebody else.
Well, no, stick the stink to somebody else.
So that's all I got for this one. until I sit down and research some more on some of these topics, that's what we got, because when we first talked about this, I thought we were doing a bunch in one show.
I'm sure we can go into
and I didn't want to dive too much deeper
great
into
depth in this, but I mean, we'll just give you the
Cliff Notes.
Cliff Notes. We can touch back on this again when we want. Yeah, I'm sure that with so many things going on in these battles, and you do the slightest thing, something goes wrong, you're screwed.
They're always looking for someone to blame.
Yeah,
always.
Yep. If it doesn't work out in their favor,
right?
So
that's the Major General Fitz John Porter. If he was a major general and the other guy was a major general, what made the other major general his boss?
I was thinking the one guy I think I watched that video on. Yeah, I don't know who you knew. I want to say he wore a red bandana into battle. No, I might be getting this confused with another show I watched. So I watch a lot of stuff on the Civil War and everything, but I think that I'm just going to shut up now because I don't know. I'm confusing myself. I don't want to confuse everyone else.
Too late.
You're looking for some guy in a red bandana walking through a cornfield who, God knows what.
Well, this is off topic, but that was what was so odd about the Revolutionary War and the British soldiers. They were wearing day-glow red.
Yeah. Well, they still had the...
they were such a highly trained, efficient fighting unit that they felt that they could wear red in the battle and it not affect their ability to win.
But their doctrine wasn't to be camouflaged. Their doctrine was to go in walls and strategically overwhelm the enemy through superior firepower and tactics. So it didn't matter what you were wearing. You could be wearing bright orange. Now, with that being said, they did have groups that wore green. Then you come in on the American side, and I think you remember that famous general or somebody who was riding around on a horse, and he's like, he's giving his troops, a British guy, giving his troops a speech about, anybody who's going to shoot from the woods is a coward, and some guy in a tree blasted him, sniped him off. And that was the start of shoot and move tactics like the Native Americans used.
Yeah.
Being camouflaged and
guerrilla tactics.
Yeah. But they didn't believe in that. That was they felt you were a coward if you did that.
Yeah, now that's all war is now.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that is the Civil War trial. Not that we won't hit another Civil War or Revolutionary War, but for our first two, we wanted to go way back, deep into history and cover that. In the meantime, we had discussed where the war tribunals or the war courts had came from. And it was the Continental Congress in 1775 created the military courts.
But it goes way back further than that.
Oh, yeah. For America, it goes back to the Roman Empire where military courts were began. So, and we'll touch on that more in another episode of Military Justice.
Or Injustice. You decide.
Now go take on the world.
The Deluxe Edition Network, also known as The Den, is an incredible podcast network that offers a wide variety of entertaining and informative podcasts.
With a lineup of shows covering various topics, such as interviews with a wide variety of guests, history, music, relationships, true crime, and so much more. The Den provides content that caters to a diverse range of interests.
The hosts and guests on the Deluxe Edition Network demonstrate a deep passion and expertise in their respective fields, making each episode on each show engaging, and thought-provoking.
The network fosters a sense of community by encouraging listeners to interact through live chats, social media, and forums, creating an inclusive environment for discussion and sharing opinions.
With its commitment to high-quality production, the shows in the Deluxe Edition Network continue to captivate and entertain its ever-growing audience.
Whether you're a podcast enthusiast or someone looking to explore new topics, The Den is a fantastic platform to dive into and uncover fascinating insights from experts in their fields.
The Deluxe Edition Network is the home of independent awesomeness.
To find all these great podcasts in one convenient location, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.